And for a different perspective on this, let's bring in Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matters, which promotes voting in Georgia and around the country. Cliff, welcome to the show. First, I want to start with any reaction you may have to what Janelle King just said.
Yeah, a different perspective would be an understatement. One thing that she did not answer is what exactly is the problem that they're trying to solve? This is really just a solution in search of a problem. We had not one, not two, but three audits of the Georgia election of 2020, all coming back saying that it was accurate, that there were no discrepancies. And so the problem is that you've got three members of this board, a board which, mind you, was reconstituted as a result of the Georgia voter suppression bill in 2021. Three members of this board who are election deniers. It was a great interview that you all just did. One question I would have loved to hear is, did Donald Trump or did Joe Biden win the 2020 election? Because these are people who still don't think that President Biden won. And so they have this rule to do a count at the end of the night that is completely unnecessary, that doesn't solve any problem. And when you couple that with the other policies that they've passed, such as allowing counties to delay certification while they do investigations, what they've created is a 1-2 punch that is guaranteed to cause chaos and delay.
And Cliff, I just want to say the reason that question wasn't asked, because no matter what Janelle or the board thinks, we know by law that President Biden did win. Despite the deniers.
You know that. You and I know that. But the problem is if they don't know that and then they are empowered with the state election board to pass policies that further their conspiracy theories, then we're all we all have to live with their reality, even though it's not real reality, even though it's too. The reality is that they're passing regulations, some of which are unconstitutional. We believe that the litigation will show that, but they are at least creating enough confusion, even now, where we're having to discuss this, which can cause delays that could really jeopardize the Georgia results and the Georgia certification.
In the past, Janelle King has said, and the election board has said, we welcome lawsuits. We're ready for it. We're very confident in this. Would you charge in court if there are any discrepancies come November?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's already lawsuits that have already been filed in regards to some of the other regulations that they've attempted to pass, and so we believe that that's going to be one way that we're hoping that some of this will be able to get blocked. Because again, not just me and not just Democrats, Republicans, the Attorney General is saying that they don't have the power to do the things that they're trying to do. But again, keep in mind, there is no problem. There was no inaccuracies. There were several audits. They are creating policies that literally come from nowhere except from their election denying beliefs.
Well, here's what Senator Raphael Warnock had to say about it over the weekend. He said this: they know that the momentum is with Kamala Harris, and this effort to turn the democracy on its head so that rather than the voters picking their representatives, the folks who are running get to pick their voters. It won't stand. Cliff, do you agree? Is this a 2020 do-over 6 weeks before the election?
No, it's exactly that. It's a continuation of the same the same thing that Donald Trump wanted the Secretary of State to do, find these 11,700 votes, combined with, remember that we had the false elector schemes here. We had an entire scheme which was designed to do what? To create confusion, to delay certification, to throw the election not in the hands of the people, but in the hands of the legislature or possibly the Supreme Court. This is a continuation of that. It's actually a refinement of that strategy. The things that they are trying to pass, is actually enabling the very thing that Donald Trump wanted the Secretary of State to do in 2020.
Cliff, I have less than a minute. I have to ask, last time you were on this show, you mentioned Harris's campaign is just getting started when it comes to winning the support of black voters, particularly black men. Now, given that black voters make up a third of the state electorate, how important is it for her to win the support of that demographic? We should mention polls are pretty tight, but she is still trailing Trump by about 3 points in your state.
Yeah, the polls are, somebody I heard say the other day that polls were really created to measure pounds, but we use them to measure ounces. And so the more important thing that I look at is what are the trends? And in all of the polls, the trend is undeniable. She is gaining momentum. She is gaining favorability. She's gaining with black voters, all voters, including black men. That's the direction that is going. And I believe that as she continues to communicate and as voters continue to get more information, that trend is going to continue, that she will ultimately win Georgia.
Cliff Albright, thank you for coming on.
Thanks.